Good evening. It's 6 o'clock, and I would like to call to order this meeting of the Cunningham Township Board for Monday, April 11th, 2022. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Here.
Mr. Evans,
Here.
Ms. Hersey,
Here.
Ms. Colasetti,
Here.
Ms. Bishop,
Here.
Ms. Wilkin,
Here.
Mr. Quisenberry, Supervisor Chenoweth,
Present.
Assessor Williams, Mayor Marlin.
Here. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the March 14th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of minutes for March 14th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Chandra, seconded by Jaya. Are there any substantial corrections? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll? I guess all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? That motion passes. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. I will move on to public participation. There's seeing no one in the audience. We'll move on to committee to verify bills. Danielle.
Oh, it's so nice to talk without a mask on. Okay, good evening. There's actually two motions we're requesting for the evening. So the first is just to verify the bills for this month. And then we caught an error in the detailed, there were items missing because of a report problem, how we generated the report. So we're just gonna ask you to re-verify those bills with the additional details. So anyway, that's why there's two items under this. So this past month, we spent $98,596.85 in the town fund, and we spent $142,479.02 in the general assistance fund. Our total expenditures is $241,075.87. And I'll go through the supervisor's report in the memo, or during the reports of officers.
So just to clarify, we have income and expenses for March 5th through April 4th, and then you're asking the board to go back and approve February 5th through March 4th.
Yeah, so the second is also, if you click on that, the second link, it was also in your packet, you'll see February 5th through March 4th, and the summary was correct. So actually the dollar figure that you approved is correct, but you didn't see all of the detailed items. Because we've added a couple of line items and our report, our automatic report didn't catch those. And so I just wanted you to be able to see all of the expenses from last month, and if you had any questions, and basically to approve those in detail as well.
Okay, so are there any questions on the town fund bills for either of those months? Mary Alice?
So I noticed that there was general insurance for about $1,300. It looked like we got credited for that.
Yeah, so actually, we're part of a cooperative through TORMA, and each year, if the cooperative members do not use all of the funds, they actually go back to the member organizations. So it's an incentive for us, to not break a leg. And so we got, $1,200 or so back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1,300.
Yeah, 1,300.
And then my second question is there's two items here for Pictometry. I know we approved that contract. One item is under computer service and software, and the other one is under appraisal. So I'm just wondering if that's maybe miscoded, the one under appraisals.
I can take a look at it and see. Wayne is the one who actually requested those items, and he indicated to our ops person. So it may be that one is as a one-time fee and one is regular, but I would have to check with
I
him.
just wanted to make sure that it was coded correctly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll make a note of asking Nicole about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna go into general assistance fund.
Okay, so let's see.
Do we have to have a motion to approve those bills,
Yeah.
Diane?
I was gonna sure, we'll do that first, if you want to. I was gonna do them both together. Is there a motion to approve the bills for the town fund?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, approved by Mary Alice, seconded by Chandra. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. And shall we go ahead and do the updated bills from the previous meeting? Is there a motion for that? Approval?
I'll move approval.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Jaya. Any discussion on those? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes. Okay, now we'll move on to general assistance.
Yeah, so did you want me to do reports of officers, or you wanted to move I'm used to the town fund and general assistance fund being moved at the same time.
Okay. Well, we did the bills. Let's
Yeah.
move general assistance at the same time. Go ahead now. It's been a long day,
I,
sorry.
Diane, I believe
Yes.
we did just approve the town fund and general assistance bills in one,
Updated.
Great,
both of
good to
those.
know
Okay.
that.
so we
Great.
should be at
So
reports of
reports of
officers.
officers then?
I'm just distracted by your court floor still, so.
Yeah,
okay.
that's,
All right.
hey, I'm right there with you.
We're
It's a
back
long
on
night.
track. Reports of
Okay.
officers, thank you.
Yeah, so we had a couple of things. I want to go through the supervisor's memo. I also provided you with the third quarter financial report. And it has notes on it if you had any questions, so you could take a look at that. So essentially, general assistance is kind of leveled out, which is really good for us. It's easier to plan. We have 38 participants as of the time of this memo. 13 are homeless. We have 41 males, 26 females, and 1 transgender resident on general assistance. We've launched the education employment track. You got to hear from our staff member about that. We now have 1 person on online classes, 3 approved and are searching for educational opportunities, and then 4 are being screened for their goals and interests. And we would expect, any given time, there might be 15 to 20 folks in that, so we're kind of ramping up that program. Disability and wellness track is on track. We've had 9 participants awarded SSI. 16 were awarded last year. To just give you a sense, we'll probably not hit 16 this year, but also the feds moved through a lot of cases during the pandemic that first year. It does look like the SSA office is actually going to open finally. We're so excited. We are in direct contact with the homeless liaison there. It's really hard to do business when offices are closed. So we're excited about that piece. We continue to provide bus fare. We're currently providing bus fare for general assistance participants, and then we help anybody with a qualifying disability apply for a free bus pass as well, anyone in the township, that is. Our vaccination assistance is kind of where it's been. It's where we've kind of hit the vaccination resistance wall and are not getting any further on that. But we do with our new entrance into emergency housing, any family, they're offered that assistance, and we can provide cash incentive for them and their children to get vaccinated. A lot of the kids already are. Rental assistance, we had bumper crop last month. So you might recall that before COVID, we were at about 10 a month. We did 26 last month. That also was because we had a broader criteria. We were really serving a lot of folks who got behind with the big Omicron spike in January and February. A lot of folks were kind of had to quarantine and lost work and got behind. So we saw a lot of folks who were dealing with that, and the ERA had run out, and so essentially we were providing assistance. We're now sending a lot of the COVID impacted folks to Bridgewater Sullivan, although the state has tightened its restrictions. So there'll be less that kind of go through that state program, and we'll probably see more. Let's see, we are still doing 3 months of rent as assistance. We're just seeing that that's what people are needing to get out of the hole, so we changed that. But we do have an income requirement, especially now that folks are back to work, and we're really seeing very low COVID transmission, which is why I can talk to you without a mask this evening. I also got tested yesterday, just in case you were wondering. So housing advocacy, we are almost at 40% of the folks that we have helped sign up have actually gotten vouchers, which is amazing. That's 320 participants since we started July 1st, 2020. We continue to make, there's a few openings for emergency housing vouchers that's mostly dialing down. But basically, we helped 76 people refer, and 41 of them, or 54% so far, have been awarded vouchers, and the Housing Authority is still working through that list. Just on Bridge to Home, just to remind folks, Bridge to Home is basically the term we use now for our homeless services continuum. So everything from street outreach to emergency housing, both for families and folks with disabilities, rapid rehousing, and then we also started a new program, Good Morning Hot Breakfast for homeless residents. So essentially, our street outreach, we were at 36 folks supported, we're now at 23. That's because actually we've housed a number of folks. We've also lost contact with a few folks, and but we're working with 23 now. We did have a Boneyard Arts Festival event. I think Chris Evans came. We always welcome the town board members to come. We're gonna have an event a month, so I'll keep sending you invites and you can come have fun with us in the garden. But that was great. We had over 100 people show up, and in this particular case, it was probably 80% participants we're working with, and our street outreach team sponsored it. So we did intensive work with homeless residents who are street homeless for this particular event, and got a lot of folks out. And it was great music by New Souls. Our emergency housing, we had 6 individuals sheltered in hotel, and 1 exited to See You at Home. We do emergency housing in hotels through ESG funding. You'll see later, we'll talk about our family shelter. And then rapid rehousing, we are currently supporting 5 households. And we have been serving hot breakfast to all of the 3 shelters every single morning. It's 100 people, and we have a partnership with Piatto's, Red Herring, and Bridgewater Life Sullivan Center, and so each of them do different drop-offs. And so in March, we served 3,100 breakfasts, hot breakfasts, and I got to eat one the other day, and it was really good, even though it's from Costco. It was pretty great. So our family shelter is continuing to serve our families with kids in Urbana schools. We served 47 households to date. Last month, we had 8 households we served. 2 families moved out, 1 exited with an emergency housing voucher, and we're currently serving 9 Urbana children with housing. I did want to give you an update. The Low Barrier Winter Emergency Shelter, you all had authorized a grant to that program. It's a winter-only shelter. We were working furiously throughout the winter to see if we could find another provider who could pick it up, and we don't have any provider. The Continuum has also asked for folks to come forward to say, is there any organization that could take on this? The one organization that said that they might be able to is still under development. So that's closing on Friday. Saturday morning, the residents will be exiting. We started, when we found out it was definitely closing, so we got a final word from the organizations involved. We started training, our office has been training See You at Home staff on housing advocacy, and we basically took and surveyed all of the folks staying in all of the shelters, and did active outreach to anyone who had income, usually it's Social Security, disability, and working to rapidly rehouse them. So basically get them out of the shelter in their own permanent housing situation, and that makes room for folks to move in, because See You at Home is lowering their requirements for staying in the what it was being referred to as a dry shelter. So essentially what we're trying to do is, shelter is not where we want people to stay, so we're trying to reduce the census overall by housing people. What a concept, this is what we should do. And so we will still have folks on the street on the 15th like that. I don't see an option, especially folks who are dealing with alcohol and substance abuse issues and mental health issues. And I spoke with the public, I serve on the public health board, and I spoke with that board today at our meeting about the role that public health needs to step in and play in terms of making sure there's shelter for everyone. So I know the cities have been very engaged, the county has been very engaged, the townships have been engaged, public health has been engaged, and I think the next step, there's not any answers in this moment, but our office is going to convene a conversation with all those partners and say, okay, it's April, let's now discuss what's gonna happen in October instead of discussing in September what's gonna happen in October. So I have asked you at home board to please tell us, are you gonna run a shelter next winter? would you like someone else to, but you could if you had to? Or do you want, or are you not saying no? And if you would please do that now. So that's the request into them. They've been a great partner. They did an amazing job on this shelter. They're very open and welcoming. We had very few problems. It was very smooth, except for the sewer backup, but that's not their fault. So, essentially, I think we'll see, but I think we should be in discussion about how do we make sure everybody has some safe shelter, and year-round preferably, but at least winter is the minimum. Let's see, utility support is really, we are seeing record numbers of requests and much larger requests. LIHEAP is going to close here in the next month or two for the season, so we expect to see another spike. We helped 11 households in March. That doesn't reflect a lot of the households in progress, so I just recently got a report from our program director that we're seeing a lot of requests. So we're looking at kind of how to manage that. I will talk about housing case management in the schools when we get to that agenda item. It's a very exciting new program funded by the school district, if you approve. You can see the eviction data. We saw a bump in mid-March. We're seeing somewhat of a downturn in terms of new cases, eviction cases, and we continue to make ourselves available. And the judge does, now those are new cases, but that doesn't mean they went to eviction. So we're trying to match them with mediators so that we can avoid an eviction situation. I think the rest you can read on your own. I just wanted to let you know that there is going to be a open house. I put it in here in case you would like to join us, and the public might want to join us. We have an Earth Day open house at the Red Herring, April 20th, from 5 to 8 p.m. It's a fundraiser for Solidarity Gardens, which is a collaborative initiated by Cunningham Township with a number of community partners. And yeah, there'll be an opportunity for us to help fund our affiliate gardens through that. We approved our first affiliate garden grant to the CU Public Health Give Back Garden of $500. Just to remind folks, those are all private donations that we manage, so that's not tax levy dollars going to Champaign. It's private dollars that we've told may go someplace within the county. And then I just wanted to let you all know, I've been spamming your inbox about the source of income discrimination campaign. I hope folks submitted witness slips, but it passed the House late Thursday night. It's headed to the governor's office to sign. He has said that he's going to sign it, so we assume that all will go well. And I believe it kicks in next year. But what that means is very big. We have, I checked last month, we had over 100 families circulating with housing vouchers who were not able to find housing or were having trouble finding housing, or maybe had just gotten their voucher, but that's a much larger than we've had over the course of history. And although Urbana does not allow discrimination and has kind of stepped up more in recent months around that issue, Champaign has allowed it and actually wrote a loophole into their legislation. And I've asked them for years and years to change that, but now we don't have to because we will have a statewide bill, which will cover everyone. So yes, I'm glad to hear that, and I think it'll level the playing field between the cities too. And then our Get My Refund campaign is going very well. You can see a list of what we've done to date, but basically we're helping low-income residents access their child tax credits, their stimulus funds, their earned income tax credits. And I oftentimes say, family with 3 children could be eligible for up to $30,000, so we're not talking small potatoes in terms of amount of money if they also had child care expenses last year. So we helped hundreds of people go to Salt and Light. We put up yard signs, we mailed out flyers, we've done e-blasts, and we're working closely with the school district to get the word out through the schools to those families. So we're now doing one-on-one help. We just started that. Now that Salt and Light, basically you can't go to Salt and Light anymore. They're finishing the tax season, so the 8th was the last day that people could drop things off. But Township is helping folks who may need additional support. So we do not do your taxes for you, but we can help you navigate the online systems to submit your taxes, and we do have technical support that we can access. So that is the supervisor's memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the memo before we talk about the mid-year report.
Chris?
Thank you. Thank you for the report, Danielle. I just want to make an anecdotal observation. I've lived either in downtown Urbana or near downtown Urbana. Downtown Urbana is usually the place where the homeless kind of gravitate because there's resources and indoor places to be and that kind of thing. And I just want to share the anecdotal observation of the last 3 months. I'm not seeing any homeless people in downtown Urbana. I saw the Salvation Army canteen truck and by the library, they always do, and nobody was picking up sandwiches or socks or anything. So my question to you is, are we getting close?
Yeah.
Are we getting,
Yeah,
are
so
we doing better?
Champaign County has, at least on paper, and I think generally, the data shows it's a limited homelessness for veterans. And the number of literally homeless residents in our community is a very doable, a very houseable number of people, both families and individuals. And the issue is just that there hasn't been the support there. It just really just hasn't been enough support and resources and honestly collaboration between the resources that do exist and accessing state funds that were always on the table that we weren't accessing. Right, so there's a lot of pieces of that equation, and I'm very proud to say that our office has played a leadership role in changing that. And, thankfully, just because I've lived here and as old as dirt at this point, I know a lot of people, and so we're able to kind of pull folks into the room and have conversations to solve this problem. I think we just needed to believe that we could do it, and we needed to get, everybody in the room, and the collaboration has just been phenomenal. So I would say, knock on wood, with 8 units, which is what we're gonna have for families, starting July 1st, we've had 6. I think that we can house the literally homeless family population in Urbana with that number, as long as the economy does not, stay stable. And I think that we could get to the point where homelessness is rare or brief in one time throughout Champaign County, and that it's totally within reach. And our office has proven it. And, I was told a lot of things when I came in from, about the impossibility of doing this and that. And I just think folks needed to see it and to believe it. So we launched our street outreach to literally homeless residents during the pandemic informally. And then thanks to the city of Urbana and our contract with the state, we were able to renegotiate the $310,000 that we got from the state in COVID dollars. And it's actually, a portion of that has been to street homelessness, a portion has been to emergency housing, and then we do case management. And that whole, lining up those trains has been really important to solving this problem. Now, what happens when the money goes away? We still do it. I mean, we are applying for additional ESG dollars. We do have additional tax levy thanks to the voters. We've got grants coming in, and I will continue to write grants. But the goal is basically zero homelessness. And what that means is that the stats are basically about 20% of the homeless residents are chronically homeless, and about 80% are in and out of homelessness. So we start with really focusing on the 80%, as well as, the 20% really focused on supportive housing, that also addresses mental health and substance abuse issues, and the 80% really focusing on rapid rehousing with some level of support, but it doesn't always need to be a lot of support. So, yeah, you should see less, and if you see somebody in downtown who appears to be homeless or needs some support, please call our office, and we will dispatch trained, culturally competent, very loving case managers who loved this work and are willing to engage folks. And if we do feel that we need support from law enforcement, we have a good relationship with Urbana law enforcement, and we will call them if we need to. But we're happy to be that first contact and really reach out. And it's working. It's through building trust and relationships and connections that we're able to do that. It's not a formulaic or bureaucratic job. It's really a hard job. Thank you for asking. We're very proud of the fact that more people are being supported in our community.
Grace?
Thanks. Thanks again for the presentation and sharing all of that. I definitely echo some of Chris's observations of just seeing less people out on the streets, and that's amazing. And I understand with the low barrier shelter closing, that sounds like you're gonna shift people who do have income into more stable housing to make room at See You at Home. I didn't know if you had a sense of how many people were currently still using the low barrier shelter.
Yeah, so actually, low barrier shelter has been full, which was not expected. The men's shelter has been full. The women's shelter has never been full. I think their capacity was 18. The men's shelter, I believe their capacity limit was 30, but don't quote me. I think it was 30, and we were regularly seeing 35. So I think that because we had very strict reporting requirements on turnaways, and so I get reports from See You at Home on a daily basis. I can see exactly what day, the demographics of who stayed, how many folks were turned away, if anyone left the shelter voluntarily, if anyone was asked to leave, why they were asked to leave. All of that data is in our MOU, and that has actually been really helpful for us to just kind of understand what's going on. So we have seen some turnaways, and that's for fire. There's a certain amount of fire code at New Covenant. So I think that gives us a good sense of, okay, we're probably looking at 50 folks in the winter, men and women, maybe 10 women and about 35 men. If we repeated the same thing, that's what we would be looking for. And that we want a little bit of a buffer. So if we could get to like a 50-person low barrier shelter that really is focused on folks who are dealing with mental health, substance abuse, and alcohol issues, that's what's needed. And, this pilot, kind of gave us that information, and we haven't had good data in the past because we didn't have those reporting requirements. But we tied them to our funding this year. All of the different entities, the city, the county, everyone agreed on this. And, they did a great job of providing that information, so that helps us to all plan together going forward.
Any other questions? Sharice?
I just want to know, do you have any idea of, like regarding with the low barrier shelter, how many people may possibly be self-medicating and actually need with the, substance and alcohol abuse, and may actually need some kind of evaluation that could move them even out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sharice, and I think that, typically, we need to understand substance abuse as not a criminal behavior, but a mental health and coping mechanism. I think there's plenty of data and research on that. It's just that I think the legislation hasn't entirely caught up on it. And so I would say in almost every situation, what we see is that substance abuse is really masking trauma and mental health issues. And the part of that trauma is actually the trauma of being on the street and being in a survival mode. So we've worked with individuals who, as soon as we were able to get them into housing, get some supports, they stopped using. That's not the case with everyone, but we've definitely seen that. And it was very clear that the trauma of being street homeless was causing that situation. So I think that what we really need is partnerships with the hospitals. We really need partnerships with the hospitals on this issue, and making sure that we can get everyone evaluated, and who will willingly, right? Obviously, there's laws in Illinois that you have to decide, but the piece that we play is talking through with folks what their options are and helping with that decision-making process. And it has to be consensual, and they have to be ready to move forward with it. But, taking care of some of the most traumatic aspects of living goes a long way to clearing your mind so that you can think about what you want to do next.
Chris?
Real quick, and Diane, you might be able to help here. When thinking about accessing the hospitals regarding substance abuse, I'm just wondering, Carl Hospital doesn't have to pay taxes. They do what they call charity care. Could helping the people at the low barrier shelter be considered charity care?
Yeah, I mean, this is an important conversation. I don't think that they would be turned away were they to show up. The issue is that there really needs to be space for folks to be safe and and in a supportive environment with case management. And that's the piece that needs to be funded that's not funded. If somebody does show up and they need a particular kind of care, they can get their care. But what we're seeing is that they are discharged what appears to be before they're ready. I'm not a professional, so I'm not gonna say, but basically they're very medically fragile. They're being discharged from the hospital. And the hospital is a very high intensity, very expensive space, right? So where is the lower intensity space where folks can be discharged to, where they can get support? And that doesn't exist. And actually it's in the hospital's best interest to provide that, because otherwise they're gonna be right back in the ER room. Right, so I don't, we have other models. I've been looking, Peoria has a really good model of partnership between their OSF and their community, and I think that that is really the next frontier in care provision. It's hard because we're being sued by Carl right now, so I don't always feel like I'm personally in the best position in my position to do that, but I would encourage us, the leaders in this community, to figure out how to make that happen.
Okay. I would just add, first of all, I think it's great that the conversation is starting now for the
Yes.
fall. And when you have those conversations, it'd be great if you could ask CU at Home or perhaps whoever is going to be providing the service an idea of their budget and how much they think they're going to need from us so we can start to plan ahead.
Yeah.
It was real last minute last time, but the longer lead time we have, the better
Yeah.
too for
Yeah,
everything.
I totally agree with you, and I think let's plan for it. What's it gonna cost? And how do we pull the pieces together? And we have a lot of willing partners at the table. I mean, really honestly, historically, the cities, the counties, the townships, we were involved through social service funding. So I wouldn't say we're not totally involved, but I think that was the primary way, and it was a smaller pot. And I really think that we've just totally leveled up our collaboration in the community, and we can see the results. The city and township are both at the table in a strong way in supporting CU at Home and the low barrier shelter, and it's been a real success for our community.
I agree. Thank you. All right, let's move on to, is Wayne on the phone? He was going to be calling in.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you ready to go, Wayne? Do you have
Are we at the resolution?
do you have a report before the resolution?
No.
Okay, all right, we'll move on to,
Oh, before the resolution?
not for the item. Do you have anything else to add?
We're in reports of officers.
We're at
Wayne.
reports of officers.
Oh, no, I don't have anything.
None? Okay. We'll move on to new business, and the first item is resolution number T 2022-04008R, which is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a worksite agreement with Salt and Light for the education and employment program.
So essentially, as we redesign our program, we're also tightening up our process, and we'd like to have a worksite agreement with Salt and Light that lays out the terms. We'll do this with every worksite that we have, and so they're the first. So it's simply to continue what we're doing already, but to structure it carefully.
Okay, any technical questions before we get a motion? Grace?
Thanks. Could you just remind us real quick too, this is the work thing that they do as part of general assistance and possibly store credit, or is there like outside pay involved?
So this is part of general assistance, and they only receive store credit after completing the hours for general assistance as per their own policy. But we do have folks who do our 24 hours, and then they'll go on and earn store credit after that as well.
Okay. Could I get a motion? Sharice, was that a hand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to move that resolution T-2022-04-008R, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a worksite agreement with Salt and Light for the education and employment program, be moved for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Sharice, seconded by Jaya. Further discussion? Do we do a roll call or voice? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes. Next item is Resolution T 2022-04-009R, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign Busey's Treasury Management Master Agreement.
Yeah, so this basically, we would like to have fraud protection in place with our checks. We've had 2 large checks that were fraudulently created and cashed. We don't have to pay because of FDIC insurance. But Busey is waiving the fees for this because, and it's difficult for them and it's difficult for us. And so this agreement, basically, there's many things that we could access from it, but right now the service that we want to access is before they distribute a check over a certain amount, we have to approve that check a second time. So what we've seen is checks that they just, basically took our check image and produced a new check for $10,000 to go to so-and-so. So we don't want that to happen anymore. Again, we've not seen a loss at the level of the supervisor's office, but we would like to put that fraud protection in place.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move approval of Resolution T 2022-04-009R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign Busey's Treasury Management Master Agreement.
I'll second.
Moved by Jaya, seconded by Chris. Any discussion? Grace?
Thanks. I actually had a question, if that's okay. So this definitely seems to make sense, especially since it's been an issue. And I was wondering if this would also be logistically a little more challenging to have to approve the checks a second time. I mean, it seems like it's obviously worth the cost, but if that's gonna be a
Yep.
potential issue as well.
Yep, it's gonna take more time. But it, my general operations person basically is recommending that we do that. And there's a pretty quick workflow, so we can go through and basically do secondary approvals. And I believe there's a threshold as well. So a lot of our checks are below that threshold. But any larger checks that go through. So essentially, I think we will have to absorb some administrative costs with that, but it will make, I think it'll just tighten things up.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion passes. Next item is Resolution T 2022-04-010R, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an addendum to the intergovernmental agreement between Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office and the Board of Education of Urbana School District 116.
Thank you. I'm very excited about this program. This is actually a new program and an expanded collaboration with the school district. So we currently have an agreement where the school district makes referrals to our emergency family housing program. And going back and forth, what we've both observed is that there's many families that are not literally homeless, but are precariously housed, doubled up, tripled up. The vast majority of homeless families are what is called McKinney-Vento Definition Act homeless in Urbana. And it's been our intention to basically focus on the literally homeless families first because that's the most crisis, and then to really address this larger issue of homelessness. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I didn't know how we would have the resources, but I knew I wanted to do it. So in our back and forth, what we noticed was about 65 to 70% of the referrals from the school district were for folks who were McKinney-Vento Definition Act homeless. We don't, that would require us to have many, many more units than we currently have. Wayne, you might want to mute your microphone. And so essentially what we started talking to the school district to say, how do we address this issue? They had a ISB grant that's COVID-based. We are looking at additional monies to continue this collaboration if it's successful. This is a one-year pilot program. We will place a seasoned case manager in the schools. He will be in the schools. It'll be Kyle Patterson will be the case manager I've assigned for this. His heart is really with kids, and he's worked with youth a lot in his background. So 8 out of 10 of the shifts, he'll actually be in the schools, and he will be in all of Urbana schools at least once every week. So he will be a resource for any family who is having a housing issue. So there are other social workers for lots of other issues. He can't be he really is focused on housing. But what he'll do is he'll be developing relationships. He's actually presenting to the social workers. If you approve this and the Board of Education approves, he'll be presenting at the very end of April to the all the social workers in the district. He'll be meeting with the principals and vice principals in every school, and then he will have basically an open calendar. People will be able to sign up to meet with him on location at the schools, and to talk about their needs. At this point, we're not even doing an income check, because that's another layer of paperwork. So it's like, you have a housing need and your kid or family in Urbana school system, we will talk with you. So he'll be able to refer to the shelter and screen appropriately, which has been, it's hard to, I think it's been hard for the social workers and folks in the schools to understand all the definitions, and they shouldn't really have to. So he'll really be able to do that screening, and they will just do the referral. There's a form where any of the staff at the school district can refer to him. They can set up appointments to meet with him. There'll be walk-in times, and then essentially we'll do housing navigation services. So we're really excited about this. There's a small amount that's coming from the tax levy for this. It's majority funded through ISB. But we will cover some of the administrative costs, and then we are right now starting the grants looking process. So our goal is to basically see if we can make this a sustaining grant-funded program within the school system. So anyway, I'm very excited about this. I'd love to, give you, once we kind of launch it, we can give you a more well-rounded picture of what it's looking like. I can make sure that all the families in the district are aware of how they can access this resource. But you may see that the school district is contributing, I'm gonna get, my numbers are wrong, it's 53.4, I think. 54.3, thank you. It's $54,300. And it will run through the end of next fiscal year. I'm happy to answer any questions, very happy about this program.
Chris, and then Mary Alice.
Will Kyle be stationed at the school, or?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
the school has agreed we'll give him his tech, and we'll provide office supplies, and we do all his professional development, so he's an employee of the township. But they will provide space in the schools for him, not necessarily exclusive, but he will have some place to be in the schools. And we're working out a schedule now. We spoke before the Board of Ed, Kyle and I both spoke last Tuesday to answer your questions they have. And then they're gonna do a final vote here I think it's next week, not tomorrow, but the next Tuesday.
Mary Alice.
So Danielle, this sounds like a really exciting program. I'm really interested to see what kind of results we get and how much we can keep people from being literally homeless. As I read through the addendum in the intergovernmental agreement, there's just one small, I wouldn't call it a typo, but a reorganization of a sentence that needs to happen. So in the now therefore, the school district and the CTSO agree in that very first one. The last sentence sounds like there's 15 holidays per month. It needs to be moved by the personal days.
Where is this?
The last sentence in that, now therefore for the number one.
This position will access paid time off which is currently 15 holidays.
And one sick and
And
one
one sick.
vacation to earn per month.
Oh, 15 holidays
Yeah.
per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let them know that it's a per year. That's correct.
I would just move the 15 holidays over to the 2 personal days, and then you solve that problem.
Yeah, okay, we'll move the 15 holidays.
Significant catch.
Oh, it would be nice to have 15 holidays a month, but we wouldn't get much done then. Kind of
All right,
be-
any other questions? Grace.
Thanks. So if I could just clarify, though, this is money from the school district, so no cost to Cunningham Township?
Other than we will be paying, they're not paying for our administrative costs, but they are paying for all of the salary benefits, and laptop, and phone access for the case manager. So,
And with Kyle taking on that role, would that be their only responsibility? I know it seems like they do a lot at the township already.
Correct. Only responsibility, it's a total reshift. I actually was gonna hire for this, and then I created the job description, and as I was creating it, I was like, this sounds a lot like Kyle Patterson. So I talked to him the next day and said, Kyle, would you like this job? And he said, yes. We're actually gonna, he's been focused on eviction prevention, housing discrimination, rental assistance, and he does housing case management on our rapid rehousing. So he juggles a lot of different pieces. He's off of rapid rehousing. We've moved it all to a different staff member, and then we're no longer gonna be in eviction court, because frankly, I think the RPC's got it. Like, it feels a little superfluous at this point. They can always refer folks, directly to us. He will continue to, we think a lot of the kind of housing discrimination pieces, him having that knowledge will be helpful to those families. But also, we've been forwarding things to Carla directly, and she can have direct connection with folks. So we kind of, warmed up that relationship, but it feels good. And I am gonna hire a new person. So obviously, we're expanding, so I need to hire for that position. But the position's gonna look a little bit different, and I will send out the job description. It's much more of basically a grants manager, HMIS, data management, helping open and close cases. Like, we really need some more administrative, but close to the programs piece. So there'll be a new position that opens up here shortly that we'll be hiring for.
Thank you. And then I had one more of, was wondering if you could shed some light on what kinds of resources or direction that, Kyle or this case manager could offer for families who might have some members who are undocumented, if there's services specifically to point towards those folks, or what I imagine may not be eligible for a lot of stuff with the township, or just if you could explain what there is to offer for that population.
Yeah, so first off, we're a sanctuary city, and we, the way township honors that is essentially we provide services regardless of immigration status as allowed by law. So when there are legal barriers, that's something over our heads, but essentially, immigrants can access general assistance. There are rules about, that make them a public charge. That may be something that they choose not to do because of that, but they may choose to do it. There's rental assistance. There's less constraints when it comes to rental assistance. So we provide that regardless of documented status. We provide all our housing advocacy regardless. Now we work really closely with YMCA and La Linea, and we work with the Refugee Center as well as Immigrant Services of Champaign-Urbana. And so I reach out on a pretty regular basis, and our office reaches out when there's something, a legal question or a resource that we're not able to provide. But most resources, when it comes to material resources, housing or food, clothing, those kind of housing navigation services, we provide. We have several Spanish speakers in our office, so we're able to converse in Spanish. And we have several, we do not currently employ a French speaker, although I did study French in high school and I should be able to do it. But we do have several volunteers who have said that they will provide us translation. So we call them in, and they provide translation services as part of our volunteer program.
Okay, great, thank you. Do we have a motion for approval? Chandra?
I know you said this is just still in formation, but what does reporting look like to us? How will we be able to see success for this?
Yeah, so the supervisor's memo reports every month on every data point on every program. It's not a requirement, but I think it's really important that you be able to see that and that we be able to track it together, and that you do allocate resources for the township, so having that information. So it'll be included in the supervisor's memo every month, from the beginning of the program and then also last month's, so. Mhm.
Can we get a motion?
I will move resolution number T 2022-0401
0R, resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office and the Board of Education of Urbana School District Number 116.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Chandra. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Last item is Resolution T 2022-04-011R, a resolution authorizing the Township Assessor to sign an agreement between Cunningham Township Assessor's Office and CoStar Group. Wayne?
First I want to apologize to the board. I thought I sent the resolution to Darcy, and it just occurred to me that I didn't. So I know you all the resolution that I'd like you to approve. Did you, did everyone get it?
No.
No.
I just emailed it.
Can we vote
Can
on?
anyone hear me?
Can this be voted on if it wasn't in the packet? There was the memo. Yeah.
Wait, is it time sensitive?
Hello?
Is this time sensitive, Wayne? Can it wait till next month?
I cannot hear anybody.
Can it wait till next month? Testing. Okay, it sounds like it's gonna have to wait for another meeting then.
Okay, I hear you. I hear it now.
Can it wait till next month?
Did y'all not receive the resolution?
No, so they need time to read the resolution. I think we can put this on the agenda for next month.
That's fine.
Okay, good enough.
Good deal.
So we will make sure item D is on the next township agenda. Thank you, Wayne.
Sorry about that, everybody.
All right, that appears to be the end of the new business items and the end of business before the town board, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Was just a point of process, did anyone have any questions about the financial report? I wasn't sure if we were taking it at the end since it showed up at the end, or if you had had your questions addressed during the officer's report. I just wanted to make sure if you had questions, I could answer them. Mhm.
The only thing I wanted to say was that I appreciated the notes. That was very helpful.
Yeah, we're under budget, not by a lot, but I think we're on track. That's the short version of the story. And you can see that there's a lot of unexpected twists and turns where we're under budget on some things and over budget on others because it's a pandemic. That's all. And just so,
Okay,
okay.
this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. I just want to remind folks that the annual town meeting is tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the council chambers. It's not a requirement that the board members be there. If you'd like to, you're certainly welcome. And I'll be giving an updated and more in-depth kind of annual report on the state of the township at that time. I should have mentioned that during the I
officer's
should have
report.
too. Thank you.